Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly consciousness, where we connect to the energy that's available this week, this month, today in particular, in this year. See how we can extract and connect to all the light that's available to us. And we want to understand what are the lessons that we're learning. As individually and also as a group altogether. First, before we begin, we want to go into a meditative state. We want to connect to higher levels of consciousness, let go of things that might be limiting or blocking us, and connect to higher states of consciousness. So we first want to close our eyes, take a deep breath. A deep inhale and a long exhale. Imagine as energies coming from Earth to our entire body, filling us with new energy, new fresh energy, filling us up all the way from the bottom of our feet to the top of our head. And we want to see as a beautiful ball of light is formed above our head. And we want to pretend that we're in this ball of light. And you want to be able to perceive everything around you through this ball of light. And then let it go up, let it go higher through past the universe, past layers of light and dark, go into a plane that is very bright light, and then a golden layer of light, very soothing, relaxing space, and then go to the next layer that feels like jello or thick water. Keep going higher, and then enter the plane of the creator. Here we want to open our consciousness to see the truth, to see what's really going on, to understand the messages that the universe is sending us, to be able to connect the dots, to see the bigger picture, and to be open to the energy and the wisdom that Creator is sending us. Okay, so we are in this incredible time with, so many things going on, so many changes, so much opportunities available for us, and we want to understand everything that's really going on. Not everything, we don't want to be extreme, but we want to have a better understanding of what's really happening in our world today. And we're gonna go and discuss the portion of the week, which is, the Kabbalist assigned a special portion, parasha, or a story to every week of the year, helping us understand what are opportunities that are available this week. And this week's portion is called Shlach Lecha. It's a very interesting portion. We are in the month of Gemini, month of Sivan. We are in ending phases, hopefully, of the coronavirus, and looks like in the middle of what's going on over social movements, over civil movements, the protests that are going on, also the change of consciousness is how people look at each other and look at humanity in general. And the biggest, I was thinking about this week's portion, this week's energy, what's going on, and obviously something that we want to also think about is we want to meditate on all the people that need healing. There's people that need healing. We want to meditate on also Leah Bat Miriam, who's in labor right now, one of our students, send her support and light. We want to send light to humanity in general, that there is no such thing as any form of discrimination, any form of racism, any form of hate or prejudice or, murder and things like that exist in our world altogether. And that all these horrendous levels of consciousness are completely erased from human race, from humanity, and replaced by unconditional love, by acceptance, by understanding, by a desire to be closer to other people, to be unified with other people, to be unified with the creator and with positive energy in our world. That's what we want to broadcast into the universe. And of course, we don't want to be in a state mind of just taking a step back. We understand that consciousness is what really determines everything in this world. And if we have the right consciousness, and if we practice what we believe in, that's what's going to help change the world also. So this week's portion is a very interesting portion. We're kind of in a row of portions where a lot of quote unquote, on a physical level, it looks like a lot of mistakes are being done. And a lot of complaining from the group of what's called the children of Israel, or Israelites. It's a group of people. The word Israel Kabbalistically has nothing to do with somebody who comes from somewhere. It means lirosh, meaning I think before I act. That's what an Israelite means Kabbalistically. So it's not about, it has nothing to do with who you were born or where you come from, but it's more about an acceptance that I choose and I use my consciousness before I act, before I make a decision. So there's really 3 amazing lessons that kind of I want to share with you that came to me that are so powerful in connection also with this month and with the energy of this week. So on the literal story, just so you know the background, the 1% story, if you would read the Bible and you would read the story, the main story that's happening is that the Israelites want to send out spies. They're still in the desert, still wandering in the desert, and they want to send spies to the land of Israel to see what's happening there. Is it really flowing with milk and honey? Is it filled with people that they can, overcome and conquer? Or is it filled with giants and things that they will never be able to accomplish? So what happens is Moses is kind of forced to by the nation. It doesn't come from the creator, this activity, to send Israelites to the land of Israel, and to send these 12 people, in a representative from each 12 of the tribes, and to spy out the land, basically. And what eventually ends up happening is that they were also princes, meaning they were kind of the leaders of each tribe. They weren't just regular people. They were probably some of the most elevated people in each tribe. And the outcome is basically that 10 of them come back with one report, and 2 of them come back with a very different report. Now, the 10, all of them were princes, like I said, and all of them had very high positions in the tribes. And they had a power and influence and wealth, and they were people of importance. They weren't just regular people. What 10 of them decide to do is they start to realize that, you know what, it's kind of in our hands. Whatever we tell the Israelites, that's what they're going to believe. So the creator told the Israelites that you're going to go into this land and you're going to have the best life ever, the best life possible. Paradise, basically. Utopia. You're going to go there and you're going to experience the best life ever. But it looks like they have it in their hands, that whatever they will say they saw in the land is what's going to be true. Meaning, if they tell Israelites that it's beautiful and we'll be able to overcome and we finally made it, then that's what they're going to believe. If we tell them that this is not something that we're able to accomplish, then they're going to believe us probably, and we'll prevent them from entering the land of Israel. So it's kind of all in our hands. And there's so many different lessons and so many interesting ideas that can be derived from this week's portion. But what came to me and what I want to get to is the idea of words, vocabulary, and consciousness and labeling that me and you use. Meaning, you can be going through very different experiences, right? We all could be going through a very different experience. What determines our ability of how well and successful we go through each scenario in our life is our perception. But even more practically is the wording we use to describe a situation and to tell us what we're doing, what's going on, and what's going to happen. So our labeling, our wording, our branding, how we brand things in our consciousness is what determines what's going to happen in your life. What does that mean more practically? Meaning, if I use words, when they come back, when the 10 spies come back, and they basically speak what's called, they slander the land of Israel, and they speak bad about it. They kind of use negative wording, negative language in terms of describing. They say the land is filled with gigantic produce. There's huge fruits there that we're not even able to eat. Not to mention the people that live there are giants and we'll never be able to overcome them. So guys, forget about it. We're not going to be able to do it. We should do something else. What happens afterwards? The Israelites go into panic. They start complaining. They start telling Moses, why did you take us out of Israel? Why did you take us out of Egypt? There are enough graves in Egypt. We could have died there. Why do we have to die in the desert, etc.? So the way they described the situation made the whole thing go wrong. And actually, the reason why Israelite did not enter the land of Israel right away and spend another 38 years in the land, one of the reasons is because of this incident. Because they believed, first of all, the people believed, and that the people spoke bad about the land. So it's all about the power of our words. How do we describe? How do we label? What kind of vocabulary we use in our life and things that are happening around us? It's something very powerful. If you're practicing and studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, you're consciously thinking about, how can I elevate my consciousness? How can I raise my consciousness? How can I change my consciousness? Like last week, I think it was an amazing, really, really something that helped me a lot, understanding that people need to take more responsibility about their understanding. And, the homework last week was amazing. And I hope some of you actually did it and sent it to me, and I'm very grateful for it. And hope you're going to do the follow-up to actually take a class and try to prepare a class on the wisdom of Kabbalah. Obviously, you can do it on anything you want, but in this format, we're talking about Kabbalah. So to actually take a class like Kabbalah 1, class 1, listen to it, listen to a few different ones of them, and make your own format and try to bring this wisdom outside of you, basically. Process it within you and bring it outside. The way you label your life and the words you use is how your life is going to be. This is the main message of this week's portion. The way you describe how things are happening, what is happening, the way you label it and describe it is how it is going to happen. That's the power of our consciousness. That it's not up to the creator, it's not up to anything outside of us, it's up to you. It's up to me and you to label the things in the right way in order for you to get what you're meant to get. What's an example? If a person constantly says, very simple one that I use, for example, I don't use it as much now, but that a lot of people like to use is, I don't have enough time. Another one is, oh, this is so hard. Another one is that I hear a lot actually in Kabbalah is, spirituality is hard. Oh yeah, but this is so complicated. Oh yeah, maybe one day I'll get to it. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. All these words, they create the reality that you're living. Think about it. Meaning it has nothing to do with what's happening outside of you. It's the way you describe the situation that the situation unfolds in your life. Meaning, as we all know, what Kabbalists teach us is we are the co-creators of our reality, right? So it's the creator and us together forming and creating our world, our life, everything that's happening outside of us. So if I constantly say, this is hard, this is complicated, this is not easy, this is difficult, that is how my life is going to be. It has nothing to do with what's actually happening. You could have a gazillion reasons to say that this is hard. That's not the point. The point is, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to label it as hard and keep it as a burden in your life? Do it, please. That's your option. That's our free will. Thank God we live in a free country and we live in a free world where we have freedom of choice, and you're free to choose. Do you want to label it as difficult, complicated, and hard? Then that's what it's going to be. So you want to start to notice more and more what kind of wording, what kind of vocabulary you're first of all using in your consciousness and actually speaking also. If you're saying things like spirituality is hard, it's hard to restrict, it's hard to change, it's hard to move on, it's hard to be different, you are making that a reality in your life. If I'm constantly going to say, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough support, if I say I don't have enough wisdom, enough consciousness, enough strength, enough power, etc., and so forth, that is what my life is going to be. Now, it couldn't be a more appropriate time than the month of Gemini, which is Gemini, one of its ultimate powers and kind of strength is its speaking, wording, and communication. So the way I communicate, especially in this month, this week, I can change all that. This week, the Creator is opening our ability to see how I communicate and how I label and describe things in my life in order to see, should I change it or should I upgrade it to a better version? So we want to remove, if you would like, we want to remove certain language, certain words in our life. Things like words like, this is difficult, this is hard, I don't have enough, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough support, I don't have enough skill, I don't have enough opportunity, I don't have, etc. Whatever you say I don't have, that's what's going to be. Period. You said it, it happened. Abracadabra, it's a Hebrew word for, and it shall be so, right? So the way you said it, that's how it's going to be, which is beautiful, meaning it's all in our hands. It's all in our ability to create your reality. Meaning whenever I say it's hard, it's difficult, etc., that's how it is. So we want to learn different wording, first of all, we want to understand it. You want to see and be more conscious of what language I use. What kind of wording do I use to describe my life, to describe situations, to describe events in my life? Even situations that are happening now, how am I describing them? How am I labeling them? How am I categorizing them in my consciousness? The more I categorize it as negative, it's going to increase in my life, meaning that energy is going to increase and become more and more negative in my life. The more I label it as positive, as an opportunity, as a way for me to change, that's what's going to be. So things that, for example, to start with, that I want to avoid saying is spirituality is hard. Spirituality is not hard. Spirituality is super easy, super simple, more rewarding than anything you could ever do in your life. It's more rewarding than going on a diet, more rewarding than going to a gym, more rewarding than finding the right person in your life, more rewarding than winning a lottery. Spirituality is simpler and more rewarding than any of those things, because that's what's ultimately going to create happiness in your life. So saying that spirituality is hard, or to be spiritual is hard, is a very unspiritual thing to say, basically. It's something that's going to make your spiritual work difficult, hard, and uneasy. You understand the contradiction? It's a bit of a, it's funny that the way you describe it, that's how it's going to be. One of the powers of signs of Gemini is very light, very fast, very quick moving, and very kind of mobile and able to change, transform, mutate itself, etc. So that's a gift that we have right now, that we can actually observe what kind of language we use, and you can immediately shift it. Shift the way you describe your life. Shift the way you perceive it. Not just describe it. You want to go as far as changing your thought pattern also, right? It's not all about the way I'm saying it, but also the way I'm thinking. So number one, we do not want to say that things are hard in our life or things are hard in general. The moment you say it's hard, it becomes difficult. So that's your choice. That's my choice. That's your choice. That's the choice we have as human beings, is you get to choose. Is it difficult? Is it complicated? Or is it easy, pleasant, and a good experience in my life? All in my hands, all in my kind of thoughts and mouth. Okay? Very powerful. Now, I want to share with you more things that work and things that don't work. So a very powerful word to use, or a sentence to use, is plenty. Plenty, or shefa in Hebrew, you can use any other language that you like, but the consciousness of plenty and the words of plenty is something that creates a lot of abundance in our life. So instead of saying, for example, a good example is, I don't have enough time, right? People, and a lot of us maybe have great reasons to say that, right? But the more I say it, the more I strengthen it. So if I want to have more time, I need to say, I have plenty of time. I have plenty of time. For example, for me, this is a very strong one. In the morning, when I'm about to start my day, I immediately start to say, oh my God, how am I going to have enough time to do everything that I need to do today, right? I see all my tasks and everything. I'm like, how am I going to get to everything? But the actual problem is not the tasks, is not what I need to do. It's the consciousness that I look at it with. And if I'm going to look at it as I don't have enough time, I'm not going to have enough time. It's going to be a huge miracle. I'll have to scan Zohar for like an hour or two just to be able to do it, because then I'm going to be elevate to a higher level of consciousness. But if I want to change it, I need to say I have plenty of time. I have plenty of time. If I feel like I don't have enough opportunity, I need to say I have plenty of opportunity. I have so much opportunity. Another thing is I don't have enough love, maybe. A lot of them must say I don't have enough love and support. That's a big one also. We always want to be. It's a spiritual requirement to feel supported and loved. And you are always supported and loved by the Creator, by your angels, by your ancestors, etc., and many, many different forces that you don't even see. But the moment I say I don't have enough support, I disconnect. I'm not able to receive as much support from them. So I want to say I have plenty of support. I have plenty of help. I have plenty of time. I have plenty of peace. I have plenty of money. I have plenty of sustenance. I have plenty of understanding. I have plenty of vision. The moment I use this word plenty, it switches the consciousness. It switches it from me being in the state of lack to me being in a state of fulfillment. Huge, huge change. We might go more into the description of different words I'll share with you, but another thing that is actually very powerful that some people overuse and actually don't use it correctly is the word sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I hurt you. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. Sorry is the word we want to avoid. Sorry is not actually the most spiritual word. Sorry is like, oh, I made you feel bad because of me. Oh, so I might have a superiority complex. So I feel like, oh, I can make people feel a certain way. Apologizing and respecting the way a person feels, that's a different story. Obviously, you should always recognize how a person feels and have emotional intelligence and understand that they're experiencing something because of the way you acted. Obviously, it's still their choice. But to say sorry, it actually brings energy down. It brings spirituality down. To say I apologize is much more higher level of consciousness. There's many. I'll share with you other words that are not so productive in our life, in our spiritual life. For example, to say another very, very powerful and big one actually that I wanted to share with you is the word I want. This is actually the biggest one that that can be a big confusion for us. Whenever we want something, we obviously say, I want love, I want money, I want peace, I want security, I want time, I want understanding, I want adventure, I want positive experiences, I want understanding, I want answers, etc. So the moment, it's interesting, the wisdom of Kabbalah is all about increasing your desire, so you should be wanting more, right? But the moment I start to say want way too much, I'm creating a huge space between me and what I quote unquote want. Because the moment I say I want it, I state that I don't have it, and I don't know how I'm going to get it, and I don't know when I'm going to get it in your consciousness. So in consciousness, in your consciousness and subconsciousness, you're creating a big gap between what it is that you want and yourself. Obviously, the more space we have, the harder it is to obtain something physically and spiritually, right? Especially spiritually. The more similarity I have with something, the faster I will have it. So instead, what's the solution, right? What's the positive way of thinking and talking about this? Is you want to increase the sense of appreciation or gratitude for what it would feel like to have what it is that you want to have. So for example, if I want to meet or marry my soulmate, I don't constantly repeat, I want my soulmate. I want a divine life partner, as we like to say. I want, to have a family to start. The more I say I want, I create space. The more in my consciousness I think about how I would feel when I would have it, and to have a sense of appreciation for that, because I know that for sure that it's coming, that creates unity between me and the light that I want to receive. Very different ways of looking at things, right? Very different ways. And it goes from everything. It goes from the most physical things to the most spiritual things. You want answers, enlightenment, and wisdom? You say, I have plenty of wisdom. I have plenty of enlightenment. I have plenty of understanding. I have plenty of guidance. I feel appreciated for the wisdom I have. I feel appreciated for the wisdom that I, quote unquote, want to have. Right? You increase the appreciation for it and gratitude before you even have it. This is very powerful. This is the ultimate proactive behavior that you can have in life, is going against what the opponent is telling you. The opponent is always want you to be in the state of lack, meaning, oh yeah, if I had that, then I would be happy. So I want it. I want this. I want that. I want this, and I want that. The more I repeat the consciousness of wanting, the more kind of holes I create in my vessel that the energy leaks. The more appreciation and gratitude I have for the things I have and for the things that I will receive, the stronger the vessel I will have, that there's no holes where the energy is leaking. So again, one of the main lessons for me is really wording and branding, labeling things in our life the right way. This, again, this month has so much. One of its strengths also is the consciousness. The consciousness of Geminis are very witty, very quick, very dynamic, very adaptable. So you want to change and adapt your consciousness and see that, okay, so even though I might have, consciousness that constantly tells me I'm lacking, I'm missing, I want to go against that. And I want to be in a state of fulfillment. I want to be in a state, in the vessel that will receive this energy. And the way I will receive it is to change how I label things. So the first thing that we want to do in this week is to observe, how am I labeling the things that are going on around us? So, and we're going to do a meditation obviously later to kind of strengthen and download all that energy into us more and more. Now, the other lessons that exist in this week's portion is also how we listen. So again, so much into communication. So first of all, like I said in the story, that the spies come back. By the way, one of the reasons Kabbalists teach us that they came back with a negative report of the land is they were fearful that they're going to lose their positions, right? Like I shared. And so intention was not pure. Their intention was totally selfish. So whenever we share, whenever we talk, whenever we describe something, one of the ways to understand if we're on the right way of seeing it is to see what is our intention. What is my intention really ultimately behind these statements that I'm saying? Okay, that's another way to kind of understand and have a deeper understanding of how our consciousness operates. Now, another side of the story is also the whole nation of Israelites, right? Because they heard the news, they heard the report, and they immediately believed them. There was absolutely no benefit of a doubt in any one of them almost that they are wrong, that the spies are wrong, that there might be something wrong. They're lying. The spies were lying. But, and obviously it's another lesson that the moment you say something, it creates a reality for someone else. But the moment the spies shared the negative report, the Israelites immediately heard it, immediately responded. They were completely reactive to whatever they heard. There was no process of, let me think about it. Let me ask them more questions. Let me delve deeper a little bit. Let me dig a little deeper. Let me not take it on the surface level, and let me go deeper and understand, what do they really mean? What do these spies really mean? Is it really that bad? Are they really that huge, those people that live there? Is it what the creator is going to abandon us and not help us do this, accomplish our task? What's really happening? So the other lesson is also, how do you listen to people? How do you listen to people and what they tell you? Are you fully listening? Are you fully receptive? Are you fully empathetic? Are you trying to understand where they're coming from? Or are you just judging on a surface level and you just want to add your own point of view? This is another kind of, something that Geminis need to watch out for, and we all need to do it now, is that they always try to inject their own labeling, their own consciousness into whatever you're saying. It's hard for them to listen. It's a very communicative sign in its ultimate state, but it's hard for them to listen because they always want to add their own share of things. So the other side of the story, obviously the lesson from the spies is have the right intentions and label things right, etc. But also, how do you listen to information? How do you receive this information? Do you receive it strictly on the surface level, on the face value, or do you go deeper? Do you say, you know what, there must be a lesson, there must be something deeper? What really, like, can I ask more questions? And the way to do it, obviously, the secret is asking the right questions. Like, for example, last week when it was really like, I felt in my perception, I felt a real low in terms of what's happening and my consciousness and my reaction to the whole story. So on the surface level, I reacted to it very negatively. It was more about the rioting and the looting and how people were abusing it, and also the fact that there is such acts of hate and murder that happens in our country. I'm sure there's so much more that we don't even know, but that was the tipping point that started a whole movement right now in the revolution. But on the surface level, it was very unpleasant for me. On the surface level, I really didn't like it. On the surface level, it was very unpleasant, felt very helpless, felt very, lost, etc. So how do you turn on the light in the situation? You ask the right questions. You ask the right questions. You ask, okay, so what's really happening in the situation? What's the real message? What's the creator trying to tell me? What's the creator trying to explain to me in this situation? Is it really what the media is telling us, etc.? Is it really this? Or is there something deeper? Is there something more? So when you listen to reports, when you listen to people speak, do not immediately absorb it and have it as part of you. That's another lesson. To me, that's even a deeper and bigger lesson to humanity from this week's portion specifically. That when you listen to a negative quote unquote report, you don't take it right away on the face value and you immediately say that's what's going to happen and that's what it really is. But you say, you know what, let me delve deeper into it. Let me ask more questions. Let me see where this person is really coming from. What are they really trying to do? If the Israelites would do that, they would catch the spies and finding out that the 10 of them are just simply securing their positions. They're securing their wealth, their status, their positions that they were given as princes, as leaders of the tribes. They weren't doing anything right. They weren't doing anything positive at that moment. They weren't thinking about Israelites. They weren't thinking about themselves even in the bigger picture. They were about me having good right now. That's what Satan is, right? Satan is all about nothing about thinking about the big picture and all about thinking about me right now. I don't care about the future. I don't care what's going to happen eventually. If it's a little uncomfortable, I want the comfort now, and whatever. I don't care what's going to happen later. I want the comfort now, and that's it. That's what they wanted. They wanted to secure their position. They want to make sure that I have the good now, and who cares about other people? So if the Israelites were not so superficial, if they were a little bit elevated more, like we are also, they would ask questions and they would say, so, okay, you guys are saying those are giants. Oh, so what, tell us more. Tell us more. What, like, how big are they? Really, and how many? And, delve deeper into it. And same thing in our life. When someone tells you something, never take it on the face value, on the surface. Don't just eat whatever you're being served. Be a little bit more restrictive. Think about it more. Where is it coming from? Who is serving it to you? What kind of consciousness and intention does that person have? What are they really trying to tell you at this moment? They're just trying to tell you, label you things a certain way, or are they telling you something? Are they helping you? Are they thinking about you? Or are they just, they have an agenda? They have a certain agenda to prove to you that we're not going there, and that's it. And their agenda was very, very certain, very, very kind of direct. Their agenda was that to prove to Israelites that we're not able to enter that land. We're not able to conquer the people that are there. We're not able even to eat the fruits that grow there. So they had a very strong mission. And Israelites, being reactive at that moment, ate it as they were being served. And what happens afterwards actually is a plague breaks out again. And Moses has to again clean up after everyone. And actually one of the reasons it says that the Israelites are still went through 38 more years in the desert was simply because of this act. There's also the hitting of the rock of Moses, but it's really because of this act that they believed them in this what's called Lashon Hara, or evil speech. Now it's also very interesting. Whenever you label things bad, negative, quote unquote hard or lacking in your life, you're actually speaking Lashon Hara. This is the ultimate evil speech that you can do. It's basically what you're saying is you're saying that the Creator doesn't know how to provide for you. He's not a good provider. He doesn't know how to take care of you. So you're lacking all these things, and you're blocking that support from coming into your life. So you're speaking negatively about the Creator, which is which is kind of something that you don't want to do, because that's obviously the Creator is always supporting you, always there for you. It's only about you being open and fully feeling worthy and deserving that there is help and support for you. So that's the second lesson. Is first of all is what words do you use, and the second lesson is how do you listen to what people are telling you. Okay, so those are the two main points of this week's portion. Again, we're in a month of Gemini, all about communication, all about sharing, all about communicating what's happening, what's really going on, labeling things the right way, and the Zohar of this week's portion is also sharing a lot, and in general, what I've been seeing is obviously one of the most important portions of the Zohar, actually in this week's portion, that the Rav used to love, and it's very powerful, is paragraph 210 in volume 18. And it talks about he who is small is great, meaning whenever you boast yourself too much, saying you're too important, it actually lowers you and diminishes your energy. But really, what I really, really would love for anyone to take away from this class, from this connection, is the understanding of the importance, the value, and the weight, and what is the true definition of the thoughts and words that we use with others and with ourselves. This is the main key. That I want to see more of the right language, the right programming that will help me, that will bring me light into my life. And I want to avoid using the words that are not serving me. So more words that are not serving me, for example. Things to say, it's not fair. Again, you don't want to be robotic, and if you feel like something is not fair, express it. But you don't want to constantly say it. Another thing is to label and say that other people were a cause of something in your life. You do not want to do that. That person made me feel a certain way. That person did this to me. That person did that to me. Ultimately, you do not want to be using that language. I don't want to be using the word sorry too much. That's not a spiritual word. I don't want to say things are hard. That's not a spiritual word. I don't want to say things are complicated. That's not a spiritual word. It's not something that will help. Using words like, I want too much. I'm missing. I don't have enough. I am lacking. I wish I had that. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. I wish. All these words, it's not the issue is not with the thing, it's the thing that we use in between them. So for example, I wish I had more time. I want to have more time. I don't have enough time. All these middle words is the real issue. So just say, I have enough time. I have plenty of support. I have plenty of money. I have plenty of consciousness. I have plenty of inspiration. I have plenty of understanding. Taking all those words out, those negative limiting words, and replacing it with a powerful magnet word that will draw those things into our life. Very powerful. Now, another beautiful lesson from really the sign of Gemini and the Zohar a lot is to be connected to our higher selves, to be connected to what's called the Shekhinah. And the Shekhinah is basically, we use it a lot, the Shekhinah, and it's a very powerful force, and the Zohar talks about it a lot. Ultimately, it's actually the perfected vessel, meaning if our consciousness, the consciousness of the entire humanity will be elevated, it is the Shekhinah. So sometimes it says the Shekhinah is crying and the Shekhinah is in pain. It is because of the distance that we have between us and our perfect selves. So the more distance exists, the more pain it causes our higher selves. Now, what we want to do is we actually want to meditate to bring this energy of Shekhinah more and more into our life. We want to be bringing this energy of Shekhinah, which means protection, which means healing, which means nurturing, which means caring for other people, which means also abundance, which means inspiration, wisdom, enlightenment, all these things more and more into our life. And the way we do that is by meditating on the force of the Shekhinah. That actually the more energy of our perfected selves receive, the more energy our Shekhinah receives, the more energy we're going to have. So whenever we pray, we meditate, and we, ask for things, and, we inject energy, we actually want to be, like, for example, the more wording the negative wording I'm going to stop using, the positive wording I'm going to start using, actually I'm sending energy and light to the force of Shekhinah. I'm sending this light and support to the entire world. Because also right now we might feel, obviously we can all, peaceful protest, and if you want to, and it's something amazing, and if somebody participates in that, that is great. But we also want to kind of look deeper, and how can we change things on a global conscious level? Because again, to me, last week it showed like, wow, humanity is really not doing good. Like we are doing like bad. Like I might be, thank God I have spirituality, thank God I have this opportunity to teach, to connect, to meet students, to study, to grow and to understand things from a different perspective. But literally 99.9% of this whole world has zero understanding of what's going on. And the way to change that is kind of It could be, Kabbalists say it could be the smallest act of kindness and the smallest act of sharing that will tip the scales for all of human race. That's why each and every single one of us is so important. And we also want to understand, obviously, the consciousness of each and every single one of us, but also the moment I do a spiritual action, I want to meditate that this action, this change and transformation for myself is not just for me. Geminis, I'll share with you, Geminis have very big desires. Gemini is one of the biggest desires of the zodiac. They have tremendous amount of desire to receive. This tremendous desire to experience, to want more and more and more in their life. Probably one of the biggest out of the whole zodiac, next to probably Aries. That's why they get along a lot sometimes. Aries have a very big unmanaged desire, and Geminis have a little bit more managed, but also very big desires in their life. Now, what does that mean? That means that we all become a little bit selfish in this time. And the ultimate way to change that selfishness is to meditate that anything that I do, anything spiritually, physically, any positive action that I do that brings support and light into my life, I'm actually meditating that it will bring light to the whole collective. Now, this is very important, that I don't just do things robotically or do my spiritual work just for me and constantly be thinking, me, I'll receive light, I'll receive protection, I'll receive abundance, I'll receive wisdom, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that, I'm getting this, I'm getting this. The more I'm doing that, I'm limiting the amount of light that I'm receiving and the quantum effect that is going to happen on the whole world. I have to do every single action that I'm doing. Every single action that I'm doing, every single positive action that I'm doing, I want to meditate that this is actually bringing light to the collective, to the Shekhinah, to the entire human race, to the entire collective of the entire humanity. That I'm not just doing it for myself, I'm doing it for the whole world. That's why there's, if you've been practicing in terms of connections a little bit in the center, you know that there is what's called Leshem Yichud. Before any action that you do, you can say Leshem Yichud, which means like the intentions of why you're doing it. So the intention of why I'm doing it is to bring light to the whole world. And in every Leshem Yichud that exists in any prayer book and any connection in the center, it always says Leshem Yichud, for the connection and unification between the light and the Shekhinah. Meaning that I'm not just doing it for me, but I'm actually doing it for the whole entire world. And let me see one comment. Oh, sorry. You did, Diana, don't worry. If you heard it now, there's no time, space, and motion. So don't worry. You're receiving it now, you can change everything right now. And everything that Geminis are amazing at. And the sign of Geminis are very able to go above the influence of time and space. Their main thing is to obviously watch how much talking they do. The sign of Gemini loves talking, and actually way too much talking, especially if it's not about spirituality, makes us heavier. It connects us. It gives the law, what's called the angel. There's an angel of gravity, or the angel that pulls us down. It gives them the ability to have more force on us. If you don't, then you're able to fly like a Gemini. But there's a beautiful story that I want to share about Leshem Yichud and about this consciousness. There was a big Kabbalist. His name was Rabbi David of Kormik, I think. And he, Kabbalistically, you should do a daily morning meditation early in the morning. And you should do it as soon as possible, etc. And it's good that way, it's kind of like a practice. Like the moment you wake up, or even wake up before you want to, and to make this connection, to make this, draw this light into your life. So he woke up late one day, and he's going to the prayer room, to the meditation room at 4 p.m. One of the, students and citizens of that city sees him, and they're like, "What are you doing? It's 4 p.m. Where are you going?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm about to do my, my morning meditation." So he's like, "You're doing it now? That's useless. Like, what are you doing? It's completely has no sense. Like, why are you wasting your time even?" And he's like, "Oh, okay. So you know what? If you did it in the morning and you said Leshem Yichud, and with full intention, you intended that you are making those connections for yourself and for the whole Shekhinah, for the whole collective, then I did my connection also. Then I received the light, the connection, the abundance, the love that I needed to receive. So it means that I'm good also. That means I don't need to do it. So even huge Kabbalists, they said that whenever anybody, any human being does these connections and says this intention that I'm not just doing it for myself, but I'm actually doing it for the whole collective, that's what brings the light. And you know, when we are in this situation right now, we want to kind of find the 1% solution to everything. We want to find the 1% solution of how do we change this? How do we improve it? How do we change it? And that's good. And we should be thinking about that. That's not something that we want to avoid. But at the same time, if we would look at the Rav, right, our teacher, how would he react to this situation? He would only say the only thing that we need to do is turn on the light, turn on the consciousness. And the way we do that is by each and every single one of us practicing more spirituality every day. But also when we do the spirituality, we don't just do it for ourselves, we do it for the Shekhinah. We do it for the whole collective. We do it for the global, for the entire human race. And like, you know, the Rav used to love to say that, you know, me thinking positive thoughts can influence, you know, a terrorist from performing some form of terror. That's how powerful our consciousness is. That's how powerful the quantum is in this world, the true kind of fibers of our reality. You know, the illusionary, the Newtonic laws, the 1% laws are very simple. It's always all separate. We're all different. Nothing is connected, etc. The true reality, which is more like quantum, is consciousness, and consciousness influences things at absolutely no distance. There's no distance and space and motion between our action, our consciousness, and the whole entire universe. There's really no separation. Again, wording. The more you believe it, the more you say, oh, how can I have any influence? You're not going to have any influence. The more I understand, wow, my connection right now, this Ana Bekoach, this meditation, these 72 names, this scanning of a Zohar, this listening to the class, this me doing this positive action, me doing this action of sharing, me doing this action of restriction is not just helping me. It's not just for me, for my sake. It's actually for the whole collective, for the whole Shekhinah, for the whole entire world, for the whole human race. For somebody in the upper worlds that's stuck somewhere, you're going to help them by you doing those connections. It's unbelievable the power of our words, our thoughts, and our actions. The smallest words, the smallest thoughts, the smallest actions can have a huge impact on the whole world. We have literally no idea. We don't even see it. Who was like, oh, I spoke to 2 students actually that told me, one of them, he manages a group of 12 people. And he was saying, very interesting, that, you know, he's obviously studying Kabbalah for a while, and he loves to share, you know, snippets of consciousness that he received with his team of that he's in charge of. And he says one of the people was very kind of like a bit victim, and you know, he was actually saying he was total atheist, doesn't believe in anything, and he's saying that now he's actually believing that there is a power in the universe, there is something out there, there is something, you know, bigger than them. And another one of my students is mentoring a Kabbalah 2 class, and she has one of the mentees is he still is completely closed, meaning didn't share anything, was completely closed, was not interested in sharing anything with other people, completely blocked. Now he's completely changed. He's opening up, he's changing, he's transforming, he's becoming at least more open. So we never want to look at things on face value. You know, that's also something that Rav Brandwein, the teacher of the Rav, was. He, you know, on his operations, if you would look what he was doing, he wasn't, on a physical level, he wasn't doing a lot. He had a small study hall where they studied 10 luminous emanations. He lived almost in poverty. He didn't have much. So on the physical level, he just had the Rav and a few other people that he was connected to. But, you know, if you would look at it on the face value, you would say, this person is not really doing so much. You know, maybe spiritually he might be a great giant, but he's not doing so much. when you look at it now in the big picture, the fact that he had Rav as his student, basically, we cannot even imagine the change and revolution that Rav and Karen did in this world. It might, on a simple, superficial level, it spread the wisdom of Kabbalah, help people around the world. On the global quantum level, we would be blown away. We would be in awe. Our jaws would drop to the floor if we would see what each Zohar, what each person that hears the wisdom of Kabbalah, how much light they reveal in the whole world. It's literally like bringing light into a dark cave, and seeing everything that is there. So there's many lessons again in this week's portion. The main ones are to understand and value our words and our thoughts, to value them, to really be in awe and be cautious and be understanding that my words have huge weight. My actions have huge weight. My thoughts have a tremendous weight, huge, even more than words, because that's where words come from, right? And actions. So my thoughts have so much power, have so much energy, have so much potential, and can do so much in this world. We want to fully internalize that. And the second is the ability that we do not do our spiritual work just for me, just for ourselves. We want to involve and be conscious of this force called the Shekhinah constantly, at all times. Constantly, as much as possible. And actually says, it's very interesting. It says that women have more affinity with Shekhinah and their actions, and they are more affiliated with the energy of Shekhinah, because they are basically more empathetic, more have these qualities a little bit easier that come to them. So the force of Shekhinah is going to be more present in women if they do spirituality than in men. For men, it requires a little bit more effort because it's not a similar energy between the Shekhinah and male energy. So again, these are the lessons. We want to conclude and do our meditation, where we internalize and receive these lessons, not from our ears and mouths and eyes, but we want to fully internalize them into our soul. Let it become one with our consciousness. So invite you to do a meditation with us now. This one's going to be a little bit longer than the first one. We want to close our eyes, and we want to send our consciousness. First of all, we want to send our consciousness to our heart. Center it in your heart. Feel it in your heart. Feel your entire body also. And then send your consciousness to the middle of the earth, the core, where there is much more infinite energy and much more energy of the creator than available on the surface. We want to experience it. Try to see how it would feel. So much energy, so much this lava, this heat, this brightness that exists there. How would it feel? How would it look? How would it sound? How would it feel? How would it smell? And then you want to meditate and send this infinite energy all the way to the surface and let it go from the bottom of your feet and feel it coming up through your feet, through your calves, through your knees, through your thighs, through your buttocks, through your entire back, through all your internal organs, the reproductive organs, the digestive organs, the adrenals, the respiratory, the circulatory system, your heart, your lungs, your throat, your head, entering all the cells of your body, opening all the chakras, all the energy centers in your body, being more open, more filled, more connected with the light, feeling content and complete. And then we want to visualize as this energy starts to pop from the bottom of your head and starts to provide energy to the ball of light that is always there, called tselem in Hebrew. And fill this ball of light more and more with energy. Then you want to pretend that you're in this ball of light. Pretend that you're in it and try to pretend as you visually scan and look at the space around you and you perceive it through this ball of light. And everything is absolutely perfect. Everything is absolutely filled with light. You want to also notice the color of a ball of light that you have today. It changes every time, it changes every day. And then we want to let this ball of energy, ball of light, fly above our bodies, fly above the building we're in, fly above our planet, go through the entire solar system, and travel faster than the speed of light through the entire universe. And then we want to start to travel through layers of light and dark, and end up at a layer of light that is very, very bright. Bright, bright, bright light. And we keep going higher, and then we go to the next layer of light that is a golden hues, beautiful, welcoming, warm, loving energy. Keep going higher, keep ascending higher through these layers. We notice how beautiful this layer is, this plane. And the next plane we're going to enter feels like jello or liquid or thick water. We want to enter it with our ball of light and keep going higher through this plane. You might see shapes, colors, geometric figures in this plane. If you can, you want to pretend and see how a beautiful pink mist, the law and the angel of kindness, touches you, touches your ball of light, and helps it go even higher. And then we want to see a beautiful shining, pearl-like shining in the distance. You want to approach this pearl-like shining, head towards it, and go through the opening. And as you go through this opening, you enter the plane of the creator, creator of all that is. This is pure energy. These beautiful sparkles of pink and blue, pearl-like light all around you. This is a tree of life, the endless world, the flawless universe, as Kabbalists say. All the energy, all the sustenance, all the wisdom, inspiration, healing, movement, love, everything originates from this plane. And you want to see how your ball of light becomes one with this energy. You become completely unified, as you always are. And here we want to receive downloads, receive consciousness, receive light directly through the creator to all the levels of our existence, all the levels of our consciousness, of our beliefs, of our soul, so it becomes truly a part of us. And the first download that we want to receive is creator's definition, creator's perspective, creator's understanding of our thoughts, our subconscious, our conscious, the power of our words and actions. So if you want to receive it, say yes. And we also want to receive a download that I'm using my thoughts, my words, and my actions in the right way, in a way that brings me more light. That I know what it means like, I know what it feels like, and I know that I'm doing it already. If you want that download, also say yes. And we also want to receive the download that I am listening and I'm seeing beyond the surface. I'm really understanding what is really being said to me. I'm really seeing what's really being presented to me. That I'm looking at things at a deeper level, at its energy, at its essence. If you want to receive that, also say yes. And now we want to receive the consciousness of being whole, complete, pure, connected, whole, in a full sense of the word. So if you want to know that you are, receive a download that you are pure, that you are connected, that you are whole, that you're complete, that you're fulfilled, also say yes. And if you want to know that every action, every positive thought, every positive word that I do creates a quantum effect to the whole world. And we're supporting the Shekhinah and sending light of healing, abundance, unconditional love to the Shekhinah, to this force of Shekhinah. If you want that download, also say yes. And then we actually want to ask the Creator, want to say a prayer and collectively send more unconditional love, more energy, more healing, more support, more abundance, more wisdom, more light to the Shekhinah, to this global force, to the entire human race. If you want to participate in that, also say yes. And last but not least, we want to receive Creator's unconditional love to every single level of our soul, every single layer of our belief, every single cell of our body, our energetic field, everything in our possession to be filled with Creator's unconditional love and wisdom. If you want that, also say yes. And before we conclude, you want to rinse yourself in this energy, in this light, fill yourself up with this energy and light. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. I'll see you next week. There's so many classes going on Kabbalah.com. Probably this call. This class will be on Kabbalah.com next week also. There's so many classes, there's so many connections, so much study that you can do. It's amazing. You can, my class, my Ana Bekoach class is on Wednesdays tomorrow at 3:30. The Russian Kabbalah one is on Wednesdays at 3:30, Ana Bekoach. Kabbalah one is Thursdays on at 7 p.m. for all the Russian speakers around the world. And there's so many different classes. I highly recommend tune in, read our newsletters to make sure you know what's going on. If you're a member, you can listen to so many classes constantly, nonstop meditations, etc. So I think that's all the announcements. The Zohars, the sponsored Zohars, if anyone still wants, they're still available. There's still free Zohars to ship to your friends, to whoever needs it. The Pincha Zohar, the Sacred Zohar, and the White Zohars are all available. So if you or anyone that you know needs it, feel free to ship it to them. You only pay for shipping. The Zohars themselves are free. And do the homework. I highly recommend to do it, to invest into spending time to prepare your first Kabbalah 1 Class 1. I think it's going to be an amazing experience. All the best. Lots of love. See you.